You know, I was disappointed in my mother for over 30 years. I never understood why she could love my father unconditionally after he'd already had 2 more kids and 2 more marriages. I didn't understand that. But you know, that was judgment. And I was going to pay a big price for that. Then there was my cousin, my ride or die up until our 30s. We grew up together. She had a bad back surgery. She got hooked on pills and alcohol, and then she went to street drugs, and her pearly whites rotted right out of her mouth. Well, I wasn't there for her because she didn't realize that drugs were bad, and I didn't want to have no part of that. She died about 40 years old, 40, 42. So I didn't understand any of it, but I judged. I didn't realize it at the time, but I judged. And I was going to learn a serious lesson for judging others. Somehow God found a way to give me nothing but narcissistic men for 10 plus years. And I had no idea why. Every one of them men had a drug problem, alcohol problem, couldn't tell the truth if their life depended on it. It was a valuable lesson because I got caught up in a trauma bond. So, yeah, I learned what my mother was going through. What she had went through her whole life, I learned at the last minute. Judgment is not ours. It's not ours to give. God will find a way to teach you about the things that you judge. I never understood my cousin's depression, my mother's depression, none of it until I had to go through it. And I'll tell you, that trauma bond with a narcissist, whoo, that is, boy, that's some shit right there. You know how I beat that narcissist? It wasn't until one day after my surgeries, everything, I opened up my computer, and there I saw a folder. And here I had all of his cash invoices. I could have bent him over for the IRS and enjoyed every minute of it. But instead, the voice in my head said, checkmate, vengeance is mine. Meaning it wasn't mine, that was spiritual. I never hear scripture in my head like that. So that was when I just closed that computer up. And from that moment on, for the last couple years, every time you think of that person and the word asshole comes to mind, you change it. You say, oh my God, I'm sorry. I love you. Send them all the love you can. It'll fucking drive them nuts, I promise you. Telepathy is real. The other day, I was standing right here, standing at this table, and I thought of a friend. 2 minutes later, he called. I was sitting here, he called. He said, I just wanted to call to say I love you and I miss you. But yeah, trust me on this. If you judge others, or you don't understand what someone's going through, God will show you. He'll show you exactly what they were going through so you understand it. It took me 10 years of narcissistic men. Here, I'm thinking I'm supposed to be there to help them. No, that's ego, by the way. That's ego. I wasn't there to help them. They were there to push me, to fill my own love cup, to love myself more than anybody else first. Yeah. I learned what heartbreak was. You know, I was married twice in my life. The first time, 3 years, single, 19 years old with two little kids. Then 27 years later, we got married again. It lasted about 58 days and he left the country because he went and got hooked on drugs. Back on drugs, I should say. He had no drugs in this country, but in his country, he was a drug addict, which is now clean and sober. He called me after when he found out I had cancer. You know, I never should have judged my mother for loving a man who didn't give 2 shits about her. My mom was a very, very religious woman, She give everything she had, and she never had much. But she give it to the church and everything. And look, I don't even tithe in the church. I have no desire to air condition Tammy Faye's dog houses, you know. But I do tithe in my community. I give to total strangers who don't even know that where the money comes from. And that's what I do. But learn from my mistakes. Don't waste years of your life learning lessons over and over again. I hated drug addicts. Drugs took away everything that I ever cared the most about in this world. And that's all that came to me. Everything I hated, that's all I got back. And it wasn't until I started sending out love and forgiveness and not calling people saying, hey, I love you and forgive you. No, not even close. Just every time they pop in your mind, instead of saying asshole, say, I love you. I send you. I will wish all the best for you. That's all you have to do. When you start doing that, your whole world's going to change. Everything you see, you're going to see differently. God has a plan for all of us. And the first thing, it's all about forgiveness and love. Forgiveness is for us, not for them. It's for us. It sets us free of the things that we don't like or want. Because when you don't like something, that's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to attract. You have to understand. The law of attraction is powerful. It is seriously powerful. I don't like drug addicts. Well, guess what? I spent a decade with them. And there's one thing I know for sure. And promise you this, from spending personal time with several of these narcissistic individuals, the one thing they all had in common, they all drank, they did drugs. In the middle of the night, they go hide. And they get high and they drink. And they stalk the one they hurt the most. Every one of them, even 70-year-olds, are stalking their ex from 25 years ago. They regret what they did. They just don't know how to handle it. See, they don't feel like they're worthy of it. And I know this because I asked one of the 70-year-olds one time, I said, hey, why do you sit here and punish yourself like this? Can't you just pick up the phone and say you're sorry? He said, no, you don't get it. I took the house, I took the kids, I took everything, I gave her nothing. That woman hates my guts. She will never forgive me. But you would sit there and drink and self-medicate instead of asking for forgiveness. Why not ask God for forgiveness? I mean, it's not hard. You'll keep learning the same lesson over and over and over again until you learn how to love unconditionally and forgive. I'm serious.